Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel for the 7th day of Planmas. Today I'm sharing how I plan in my work planner. So this is a functional plan with me. A bit of background to start, I work as a tech consultant, specifically a Salesforce consultant in a business analyst role. So my responsibilities range from gathering business requirements to writing and refining user stories to technical tasks like design review and testing, and providing training and demos to the client, and more. So that's kind of the context of what I'm planning for here. Currently for work, I'm using a PrintPression B6 hardbound planner. This might look familiar because this is also the planner I use for my journal with me's. And I love this planner for work for a lot of reasons. One is the layout. I like seeing my full week on 2 pages with 1 column per day, except for the weekend, which works out perfectly because I usually only work Monday through Friday. It also has monthly pages in the front and notes pages in the back. I didn't use those too much this year, but I wish I did, and I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. Another reason I love this planner for work is the size. It's comfortable enough for me to write down all of my daily meetings and tasks without feeling cramped. But if you close it, you can see that it's also super compact and light, which makes it easier to throw into my bag and carry into the office or on site for client meetings. And because it's a hardbound, it's way more durable, especially with the clear vinyl cover I have on it. The vinyl cover is also from PrintPression, and then the star acetate inside is from Scribble Prints Co. So let me open back up to the page I was on. So this has been my most consistent planner this year. I've been using it since I started at the company I am at, which was a little over a year ago, back in December 2019, and it's just worked really well for me, so I've continued using it. Since I can't plan my actual week ahead or show you previous spreads for confidentiality reasons, I've decided to do a lift and shift of one of my previous weeks. So basically I'm using the exact same plans and tasks, but I've genericized everything so that the meetings and tasks are relatively the same, but I've just removed specific client names and project details. And this is like a blank week in my planner that I filled out the dates for, but for some reason didn't get planned out. Maybe it was like a slower week, or I just went off my Google Doc notes, I don't know. But I thought it'd be perfect just to use this week to plan out. So basically I use a color coding system with pens and highlighters, 1 highlighter usually. So normally I actually use these pastel zebra sarasas, but in the spirit of the holiday season, I've pulled out these festive colored pens instead. So I have a few pens that I showed in my haul that I posted a few days ago for Planmas, and then I have a Pilot Juice Up that's gold metallic, a Zebra Sarasa Dry, and a pink Zebra Mild Liner. The first thing I'll do on Monday morning is fill out kind of the framework of the week, and then I'll get into each like daily planning. So first I'll put down the dates. I'm actually going to white out these dates and write down next week's dates, so it'll be like I'm planning for the week ahead. Okay, so I just realized that next week is Christmas week, but we're just gonna pretend that it's just a normal week. So the next thing I do is I will write down a key here in this Saturday box. And if I do have any weekend tasks, or if I do have to work through the weekend, I'll normally just consolidate them into this Sunday box here. So basically what I do is I use a color for each client / project, and then 1 color for any internal tasks or any internal projects. So I'll use gold for internal, and I'll just draw a squiggle. And then red will be client 1, gray will be client 2, and then green will be client 3. Then at the top of the day, I'll write down tasks that I know I have to do every day, or at least are consistent. So one of them is sending a Scrum update to my PM for one of the projects, which this used to be every day, but at this portion of time when this week happened, we were sort of slowing down on the project because the client was just doing testing on their side, and we were really just supporting them, so it ended up being like twice a week instead. And then the other task, which is an internal task, is filling out my HR log each day, which is basically a timesheet so that we can keep track of the hours we work for each client for billing. And as we all know, I'm really bad at planning and talking at the same time, so I kind of messed up here. Normally, if I mess up in my actual planning, then I'll just cross it out. I don't use whiteout, but since I have whiteout handy. And then after I filled out each daily task at the top that I know that is happening, I'll get my mild liner and I'll split out a section towards the bottom to differentiate between my meetings and then like my to-do list basically. So I kind of just draw a squiggly line across. So then the next thing I'll do is open my work calendar and write down any meetings I have. So the top is meetings in chronological order, and then the bottom is my to-do list for the day. And I'll usually start throughout the week with my earliest meeting so I know how much space to leave. So I know on Friday I have an onboarding call at 5 a.m. So I'll write that in first because I like every time to be relatively consistent. Sometimes it doesn't always happen because, you know, this meeting will be scheduled like on Wednesday and I've already started planning for the week. But since I know my schedule in advance, I'll just do that. So for client number 2, I have an onboarding at 5 a.m. So the next one is all hands. And then the next meeting is a scrum for one of the internal projects that I was on. And I know that that's happening every day, so I'll put that all the way across. So then I'll move back over to Monday, and I know for client number 1, I have scrums on Monday and Wednesday, so I'll put that in. And then right now I'll just take a moment to start filling it out so I'm not super confused. Moving on to Tuesday, I know I have a check-in meeting for client project 3 at 9:15. And if there's a shorter meeting, then I'll just do 2 squiggles to bookend the name of the meeting. Okay, and then moving on to Wednesday, I have a bunch of meetings for a new project that I'm onboarding onto. And I'm gonna run out of room here because the meetings kind of run late, but I'll try my best to fit it. Yeah, so this meeting went past the line, but that's fine because it's like a late meeting and I think it's better for me to have like kind of like a unique marking for it so I don't forget. And then on Thursday I had one more meeting to mark, which was a client discovery meeting. So I'll put that there. So that's all of the meetings down, and if any come up throughout the week, I'll add them in as necessary. Then I'll go in each day and fill out my to-do lists. I usually fill this in after my scrum meetings in the morning because that's generally when I know what my tasks are for that day. And again, I'll use a color coding system, so I'll draw a checkbox in the color based on the project that the task is for. So for example, on Monday I had to write a new user story and update acceptance criteria for one of the stories for the internal project that I was working on. And then I also had to schedule a Salesforce certification exam, and that's kind of like a personal to-do that doesn't have to do with any internal or client projects, so I'll use black for that. So basically I'll do this for the rest of the week. Sometimes there'll be an empty day where I don't write anything down, and that's because I always keep a running Google Doc for each project where I write down meeting notes, work notes, action items, decisions, and stuff like that. So if there's any task that takes like less than 5 or 10 minutes, I'll just do them without writing it down, or I'll be working on like a day-long task, but generally I like to fill it out. All right, so that's everything all filled out. I'm really not too neat with my work planner. As you can see, I try to write everything down as quickly as possible so that I can get to doing my actual work. And I really like this method because it's pretty simple, but I'm still able to visually structure my day. So the last thing I'll do is if I have any like notes, for example, I had to schedule a Service Cloud exam here and I wanted to remember like what time that exam was, then I'll just like put it in a random place where I can kind of remember. and then I'll draw like a little connector like that. Alright everyone, so this is what my finished week looks like. Like I said earlier, this has worked really well for me, which is the reason it's the planner I've used most consistently this year. And another perk is that it made filling out my accomplishments for my year-end review super easy, because I could just flip back to each week and reference all of the things that I did over the course of the year. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I wanted to quickly mention the monthly and notes sections. I wish I had utilized them more. For example, for this monthly, I would have put like important deadlines, like deployment dates, you know, sprint numbers, holidays and days off, all that kind of stuff. I would have liked to put them here. So I think next year I'll find a way to kind of incorporate that. And the other thing is the notes pages in the back. So I only recently realized that these were here. Throughout the year, I've actually been writing down important notes on a separate notebook. For example, like if I have a training demo or a walkthrough that I have to present to a client, I'll usually do some dry runs first and write down speaking notes on like a piece of scratch paper so that I have it to reference during the actual meeting, especially if I'm like sharing my screen. Or if I have like a project deployment, I'll write down the process of my tasks. I remember for one of the projects, I had to migrate a bunch of data over from the dev sandbox to the QA sandbox and again to production. So I really wanted to remember the process I went through, since there were specific objects, fields, like API names that I had to remember, and also because it allowed me to optimize the process for maximum efficacy during the project go live. And since those deployments were each like a couple months apart, I had to make sure that I kept my notes in a safe place. And I wish I had put them in here, because then it would have just been like in one place that I could easily reference. And I think what I'll probably do is rip out those pages in the notebook that I had put them in previously and just tape them in here so I have it for future reference. Since I'm relatively new to this career, I've been like working for about a year now, I'm still kind of in the process of making my planning more functional and more robust, and I'm sure I'll iterate upon this current framework, if you will, that I have throughout the coming year. So that's it for my work plan with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts and how you plan for work in the comments, so please let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all taking good care, and I'm sending you warm wishes for the holidays. I will see you tomorrow for the 8th day of Planmas. Bye everyone.